Justice Denied: How Pennsylvania's Custody Courts Punish Male Victims of Domestic Violence. When Mark, a 39-year-old Pennsylvania man, walked into family court to plead his case for custody of his 10-year-old daughter, he thought he'd find justice. Instead, he found a system stacked against him, not just because he was a father, but because he was a male victim of domestic violence. Despite documented evidence of physical and emotional abuse inflicted by his ex-partner, Mark was labeled the aggressor in a custody battle that stripped him of parental rights. He was ordered to pay not only child support, but also spousal support to the very woman who assaulted him. His case is far from unique. Across the United States, but particularly in Pennsylvania, family courts are failing male survivors of domestic violence. Instead of protecting victims, the system weaponizes their income to sustain a cycle of exploitation, reinforcing outdated gender norms while enriching the state and its associated bureaucracies. A rigged system. In theory, family courts are meant to prioritize the best interests of the child. In practice, Pennsylvania courts overwhelmingly favor women as custodial parents, regardless of evidence that challenges their fitness. For male victims of domestic violence, the deck is even more stacked. According to Pennsylvania's Domestic Relations Code, the courts are supposed to consider abuse when determining custody and support. But in reality, male victims often face disbelief or outright hostility when presenting evidence of their abuse. Advocates report that male victims are frequently dismissed as liars or manipulators, their claims seen as attempts to avoid financial obligations. One Philadelphia-based attorney who requested anonymity for fear of professional retaliation put it bluntly: family courts don't want to hear about men as victims. The moment a man claims abuse, it's like he's violating some unspoken rule about how custody cases are supposed to go. This bias is not only cultural, but financial. Pennsylvania's child support system incentivizes granting custody to the parent with the lower income, statistically more often women. By assigning custodial rights to mothers, the courts can extract larger sums of child support from fathers, who are more likely to earn higher wages. Subsidizing abuse. Even more egregious is the practice of ordering male victims to pay spousal support to their abusers. In many cases, men who have been stripped of custody are still required to fund their ex-partner's lifestyle, even when there is evidence that the ex-partner was abusive. David, a veteran and father from Harrisburg, was ordered to pay both child and spousal support after losing custody of his 2 children to his ex-wife, despite police reports documenting years of abuse. "It felt like I was being punished for being a victim," he said. "I had to pay her to keep the kids from me." How is that justice? This system effectively rewards abusive behavior, particularly when the abuser is a woman. By prioritizing financial extraction over fairness, the state incentivizes custody disputes where the abuser can claim victimhood and walk away with both the children and the financial means to maintain control over their victim. The financial engine behind the bias. Pennsylvania's child support enforcement system is a well-oiled machine. The state receives federal funding under Title IV-D of the Social Security Act, which reimburses a portion of the costs for enforcing child support orders. The more money the state collects in support payments, the more federal dollars it receives. This creates a perverse incentive. The courts are financially motivated to award custody to the parent less likely to pay support, usually the mother, so they can extract payments from the higher-earning parent, usually the father. For male victims of domestic violence, this means the state has a vested interest in ignoring their abuse and maximizing their financial obligations. "This isn't about what's best for children or families," said an advocate with the Pennsylvania Coalition for Fathers' Rights. "This is about money. The state treats fathers like ATMs, and it doesn't care who gets hurt in the process." Breaking the silence. Male victims of domestic violence face an uphill battle not only in the courtroom, but also in the court of public opinion. Advocacy organizations and lawmakers have been slow to address the systemic biases that leave male victims vulnerable to exploitation. "Men are told to man up, pay up, and shut up," said Greg Ellis, author of The Respondent, a memoir about his own experiences in family court. But we need to start asking why the courts are so comfortable letting abusers profit off their victims. This isn't justice, it's extortion. Until Pennsylvania's family courts are held accountable, male victims of domestic violence will continue to be punished for seeking protection and fairness. The question isn't whether the system is broken, it's how much longer society will allow it to stay that way. Call to action. For real reform, activists and legislators must challenge the financial incentives underpinning the custody system. Federal funding mechanisms like Title IV-D need to be re-examined, and judicial training must include recognition of male victimhood. Until then, fathers like Mark and David will remain casualties in a system that prioritizes profit over justice. Justice, it seems, has a price, and in Pennsylvania, male victims of domestic violence are the ones paying it.